My mother's suitcase hit the floor with a thud that echoed like a gavel. I stood in the doorway, heart pounding, wondering if I'd just burned the last bridge between us. It started with a phone call 6 months ago. Mom's voice, usually sharp as a tack, trembled as she told me her landlord was selling her apartment. At 62, she was alone. Her savings dwindled, and the world seemed to be closing in. I didn't hesitate. "Come live with me," I said, picturing cozy evenings, shared meals, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to mend the cracks in our relationship. I'm 34, single, and my two-bedroom apartment in Portland felt too big for just me. Mom moving in seemed like fate, a chance to be the daughter she deserved. The first week was a dream. Mom, with her silver-streaked hair and laugh lines, filled the space with stories of her youth, wild nights in the 80s, dancing to Prince, and the time she hitchhiked across Oregon with nothing but a backpack and a dream. We cooked spaghetti together, her sauce recipe a secret she swore she'd take to her grave. I felt like a kid again, basking in her warmth. But dreams have a way of cracking under pressure, and Mom's warmth came with a shadow I hadn't anticipated. The first boundary she stomped was small, almost laughable. I'd always been private about my work. Freelance graphic design requires focus, and my home office was my sanctuary. I'd told Mom clearly, "Please don't come in when I'm working unless it's urgent." One morning, mid-deadline, I heard the door creak. There she was, coffee mug in hand, launching into a story about her neighbor's cat. I smiled, gently reminded her of my rule, and she laughed it off. "Oh, Ellie, you're so serious," she said, waving her hand. I let it slide, chalking it up to her excitement at being here. But the interruptions kept coming, knocks during client calls, her rearranging my desk to help, even once unplugging my laptop to charge her phone. Each time I'd repeat my boundary, my voice firmer, her apologies breezier. I tried to understand. Mom had been independent her whole life, raising me alone after Dad left when I was 5. She wasn't used to boundaries. She saw them as walls, not fences. I told myself to be patient, to teach her my world. But patience is a muscle, and mine was wearing thin. The second boundary she broke cut deeper. I'd been dating someone, Lila, a quiet barista with a smile that made my knees weak. We weren't serious yet, but I was hopeful. I'd told Mom about her, emphasizing that I wasn't ready for them to meet. My dating life was mine, a fragile space I guarded after years of failed relationships. One evening, I came home to find Lila sitting on my couch, red-faced, while Mom grilled her about her intentions like a detective in a bad cop show. "I just wanted to know who's stealing my daughter's heart," Mom said, laughing, as if it were a joke. Lila left early, her texts colder after that. I confronted Mom, my voice shaking. "You can't just invite yourself into my relationships." Her eyes widened, hurt flashing across her face. I was trying to connect. "Ellie, don't make me the villain." I felt like the bad guy, but the betrayal stung. Lila stopped texting a week later. I started locking my office door. I stopped sharing details about my day. The apartment, once a haven, felt like a battlefield. Mom noticed the distance but doubled down, her comments sharper. "You're so closed off. Ellie, you get that from your father." Each jab landed like a dart, and I wondered if I'd made a mistake inviting her in. The third boundary was the breaking point. I'd been saving for a solo trip to Iceland, a dream I'd nursed for years, a chance to rediscover myself after a decade of grinding. I kept the fund in a separate account, my freedom jar, as I called it. I never told Mom the details, just that it was important. One day, I checked my account and found it $2,000 lighter. My stomach dropped. I confronted Mom, who was sipping tea at the kitchen table, her face calm as a lake. "I needed it for my meds." "Ellie," she said, "you know how expensive they are." I stared, disbelieving. "You didn't ask. You just took it. I'm your mother." I didn't think I had to ask. Her voice was steady, but her eyes flickered with something, guilt, maybe, or entitlement. I felt like I was drowning. Those meds, she'd never mentioned them costing that much. I checked her pharmacy records later. They were covered by insurance. She'd used the money for a new wardrobe, claiming she needed to feel herself again. The lie was a knife, twisting in my chest. I'd given her a home, my trust, my heart, and she'd walked over them like they were nothing. That night, I lay awake, replaying every moment. I loved Mom, but love wasn't enough when respect was missing. I thought of all the times I'd bitten my tongue, hoping she'd change. I thought of Lila, my office, my dreams all casualties of her disregard. By morning, my decision was made. I packed her suitcase while she was at the grocery store. Clothes, toiletries, her favorite scarf, I folded them neatly, my hands shaking. When she returned, I met her at the door, the suitcase between us. "You need to leave," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my throat. Her face crumpled. "Ellie, you can't mean this." "I do. I've asked for respect 3 times, and you've ignored me. I can't keep doing this." She argued, cried, pleaded, but I held firm. I drove her to her sister's house an hour away, the silence in the car heavier than the suitcase. As she stepped out, she looked at me, eyes searching for a crack in my resolve. "You're abandoning me," she whispered. "No, Mom," I said, "I'm saving myself." The drive home was a blur. I walked into my apartment, now too quiet, and sank onto the couch. Had I been too harsh? Was I the monster here, kicking out my own mother, or was I finally standing up for myself? The questions gnawed at me, but so did a flicker of relief, a sense that I'd reclaimed my space, my life. Days turned into weeks. Mom called, left voicemails I couldn't bring myself to answer. Aunt Clara texted updates. Mom was fine, settling in, but hurt. I wrestled with guilt, but also with a newfound clarity. I'd spent years bending to keep the peace, but peace at the cost of myself wasn't peace at all. I started therapy, unpacking the tangled threads of our relationship. I rebuilt my savings, booked that Iceland trip. Slowly, I was finding Ellie again. But the story doesn't end neatly. Mom and I are still estranged, though I've started replying to her texts, short and cautious. I don't know if we'll ever be close again, but I hope we can find a way to coexist on my terms, not hers. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges, but only if both sides respect the crossing. What do you think? Was I right to set that final boundary? Or did I go too far? Share your thoughts on family, respect, and the cost of standing your ground.